This is the Throwin Sliders podcast with Blair and Brandon.
All right, tonight, guys, we got a special guest back, Spencer Hill, returning to the show. It's just Spencer and I tonight. Brandon had his wife had a little bit of a medical emergency, a little appendectomy. So we said the right rear was down and flat, so she was incapacitated for a while, but everything turned out okay there, recovered in the hospital, and we'll be ready to go. And hopefully Brandon will actually be at the races with us on Friday. So I get to come out and see him and maybe give him a hard time. So, yeah, with that, Spencer, what's up, buddy? Glad to have you back.
Blair, thanks for having me, man. So good to be back here in the studio with you. Had to do it from the garage this time. Just fired off the sprint car literally like 5 minutes before coming on with you tonight. So had to make sure the Performance Plus motor was going to run all right. And so far, so good. So I think it's going to be a pretty good week up in Colorado, going up to your neck of the woods.
Yeah. You've been there before, correct? You raced wingless down here a couple times?
Yeah, I've done some non-wing stuff up there, and actually, I love that track. It's so unique the way that it's kind of a D-shaped oval. I feel like there's a lot of different lines that you could take. I mean, I've been there where it's, super muddy all the way through, and I've been there where it's blowing dust and hot laps. So you don't know what to expect, but that's what I love about sprint car racing. It's what I love about dirt racing. And, dude, I'm just stoked to have our season started. Just came off of a heater down in Vado Speedway Park over Memorial Day weekend. A lot of fun down there. That's always a great time. And, dude, it couldn't be a better weekend up there in Colorado. I'm just excited to get up that way.
Yeah. So it's, for those who don't know, it's a 2-day show. We've kind of framed it as a north versus south deal. I think we've got guys coming from as far as maybe north, at least South Dakota, and then all the way down to the border towns in New Mexico. So for those, I haven't been to Vado yet. I'm going to try to make it down there at least once this year. But you got a lot of guys traveling. I saw your tour, the Southwest Desert Series. They're going to be bringing, it looks like, quite a few cars up.
Yeah, there is. I mean, we've had a really good showing the last, 3-4 years with the series. And there's a lot of momentum this year, too. Guardy Engines just joined on as the premier sponsor, the presenting sponsor for the series. So with that, brought a little bit of point fund money. We love to hear that as drivers. And, everything has been rolling really good. I'm honestly a little bit impressed with that, too, because, as you know, it's just tough to race out here in the Southwest. We don't have access to all of the shops that everybody has out in Indiana, even on the East Coast. So anything that we can kind of do to drum up some good racing is welcome. And I think that Gary Gwynn has done a great job with the series, and all the tracks have been super welcoming. And now we've expanded in Colorado this year, which is even more exciting for us.
Yeah, it is a good mix. And, I think car counts, that's kind of how it's been, especially around here. We kind of have the same problem as we're, we've got a few tracks, but as far as getting guys to travel regionally, you really need that. We're at least lucky to where it's maybe it's about probably about 6 hours for you guys coming the Albuquerque way. Same thing for the guys up north. So we kind of in actually a pretty central location. It's just getting these bigger shows put together and making it worth it for guys to travel. I think a 2-day show like that is probably really what can make it justifiable. I'm sure on your end, is that how you guys think about it?
Yeah, for sure, dude. Whenever we have to go up, any more than 4-ish hours for just a single day show, it's really hard to make that make sense on the balance sheet. So for us, I think that's one of the things that I like most about the series, to be honest, with the 360 Wing Desert Series, is the fact that they are all 2-day shows. We ended up getting 20 shows this year total, and all of those are going to be 2-day shows. So that's welcoming for us. I think it's a little bit easier to swallow, too, because schedule-wise, you move from going where what you'd normally be going, maybe every week. If you're doing a weekly series, there's not a whole lot of that anymore. But then we were getting into a weird stretch, too, with some of the other series down here where we would only race once every other month, it seemed like. And that's not really healthy either. So I think a good mix is what we've been doing with that 360 Wing Desert Series and being able to race basically once a month. Sometimes we're doubled up, but if we do get doubled up, we also get a month off typically to go, whether that's, vacationing with the family or go race a little bit more. For me, I've taken it upon myself this year to use that opportunity and go micro sprint racing. Just got a brand new Factor 1 micro right before the shootout. And gosh, it's been so much fun getting back into the little micro as well. As you know, we've talked about it the last time I was on the show. Just the short wheelbase cars are so much fun to race. So when I can get back behind the wheel of that, I really, really enjoy my time doing that. But we've talked about it before, Blair. I'd race a lawnmower. It really don't matter
Yeah.
to me. If it's got 4 wheels, 2 wheels, boat, I don't care. If it goes fast, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Spencer, I want to, we got to take an ad break here real quick, but we want to talk about your little bit of a comeback this year and maybe some that don't know that story. So real quick, we're going to play our presenting partner, Hoosier of the Rockies. They've been helping us out, and they will be there this weekend with the midgets as well on Saturday. So I'm sure they'll have tires, fuel, parts, and everything you need. So we'll talk about Spencer's comeback right after this message.
If you're serious about performance, whether that's on the track or off-road, you already know having the right components and having them readily available is crucial. And that's exactly where Hoosier of the Rockies comes in. They are the official Hoosier tire dealer of Colorado, which makes it incredibly convenient for local racers to get the tires and supplies they need without the hassle of waiting or traveling out of state. What really sets them apart, though, is that they're not just your typical brick and mortar shop. They're right there in the action, trackside supporting racers when it counts most. Whether you need fresh tires between sessions or race weekends, fuel to keep you running, or critical components like radius rods, rod ends, wheels, and more, they've got you covered right then and there. Don't have what you're looking for? No problem. They can also order you and your team just about anything they stock in various sizes, colors, and specifications. Just let them know. That kind of support can make or break a race weekend, and it's why so many drivers trust them when it matters most. On top of that, Mark and Samantha Hamilton of Hamilton Motorsports bring real experience and passion to everything they do. They understand the demands of racing because they live it, and they're always ready with the right recommendations to keep you performing at your best. They race, you race, so let's race together. If you're looking to stay competitive and fully supported on or off the track, check out Hoosier of the Rockies and see why racers across the region rely on them. Call 303-632-6360. Visit them on Facebook, Hamilton Motorsports Racing, or stopping by locally in Arvada, Colorado. Hoosier of the Rockies and Hamilton Motorsports, the proud partner of Scrubbin' Tires Media and the Throwin Sliders podcast.
Right on. Yeah. Big thank you to Mark and Samantha Hamilton Motorsports. If you guys are coming to the track this weekend and traveling, a lot of times when we go places, they don't have stock. And I actually got caught with my pants down when I went to race with you down there in Aztec, Spencer. We were chasing down tires till 1 a.m. Luckily, some guys came through, but track took rubber and I was all out of them. So yeah, make sure you stop by their trailer. They'll be there. It's easy to see and they'll help you out. But all right, Spencer. So for those that don't know, you are on a comeback year. You were injured last year. Spent some time laid up. How's that been going? How you feeling in the car?
Yeah, it's been a really crazy year, Blair. For me, I never really thought that I'd go through such a gruesome injury. For those that may not have known, I broke my back at the very end of the 2024 season, actually down at Vado Speedway Park, the same track that I just raced at just 2 weekends ago. And it was a scary deal, man. I ended up breaking my C7, my T2, T3, T4. And gosh, another one of those weird sprint car accidents that we've been seeing far too often and didn't look like it was going to be anything major and ended up being everything that I could imagine and then more. But luckily, the recovery has been going really well. I've had a fantastic support group around me. And that I think that makes all the difference, too. Being able to have just a good group behind you, both with the race team side, friends and family, even sponsors, just having everybody being able to support you and just show that they're there for you. I think that makes a world of a difference. I don't know that I would be at the place that I'm at right now as far as racing goes or even life goes without the support group that I had and continue to have week in and week out. But recovery's been going great. I ended up getting back behind the wheel less than a year after the injury, back at the same track at Vado for the Labor Day show in 2025. But in between the time between then and now, I've been also doing a little bit of broadcasting and doing some announcing, both for the 360 Wing Desert Series and then some other shows, including down at Central Arizona Raceway and Sholo with the Deuce of Clubs Thunder Raceway, both of which are tracks that we go to with the series here in the 2026 season. Been loving that too. I've kind of always loved the announcing and the pit reporting side of things, and it was just such a natural fit just to keep me around the racing world, keeping me really plugged in, especially to the series that I compete in, day out, and just being able to be at the track with my friends. And those are the people I feel the closest to. So that was really special. And fast forward to this year, we're already, we got one race win with the micro, and then had a pretty good showing for the first outing of the year in the sprint car as well. Had to borrow a motor. Huge shout out to David Burns with Hal Burns Truck and Equipment for loaning us a motor for that Memorial Day show. But still was able to snag a top 10 and then an 11th place on the second night.
Yeah. So take me through that. Cause I mean, we've all been injured at least somewhat, but that was pretty, that's one of those ones that guys are afraid of, especially we see it a lot. But what are the first laps back in the car like? Was it something to where you were really hesitant, or you're just like, hey, I knew this could happen, I'm back, I'm trying to recover, or I feel pretty good, and you just go for it again? Or was it something like, I got to ease into this a little bit and get your mind right?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think for me, what I was most nervous about with coming back from the injury wasn't actually, being afraid of a wreck or being afraid to, go in as deep in the corner as I normally would. I think that mentally I felt prepared. Physically, I felt great. More so, I think there was just something in the back of my head saying like, oh man, like, is this going to be a subconscious thing where I'm not picking this up, where I'm missing it just by a little bit and I can't figure out what's going on. I think that was probably the most nerve-wracking thing to me, is just, I guess, the unknown. And until you get out there, and of course, the way that sprint car racing is, you know it just as well as I do, you can't really just go out and, putt around. You got to go balls to the walls, like from the get-go, because for us, especially with the wing deal, the most important race of the entire evening is basically the first time you're on track with decent track conditions, which is your heat race. You don't learn anything from hot laps. And I've always been kind of in between when it comes to like, don't going out and doing test days on your own unless it's a fully prepped track. I was lucky I did get a practice day leading into my first weekend back behind the wheel, and I think that helped a lot. But unless you have that full prep track and other cars that are similar to yours going around there and creating a groove that's at least somewhat similar to the notes that you had from before, I think it's very hard to gauge where you're actually at behind the wheel. But for me, I just got really lucky, I think. I mean, not only with coming back from the injury in such a fast amount of time, but also not feeling like I had, lost something unconsciously or subconsciously, and not being able to figure out where that speed might have went, because that was definitely the most nerve-wracking part.
Yeah. Did you milk it at all too after you started feeling better? Did you like give it a couple weeks, tell your old lady like, hey, I'm still gonna need the special treatment, and you get right back to it?
Well, she probably, unless she watches this, which I'm sure she's watching Euphoria or about to watch Love Island or something, so doubt she's watching this podcast. But I could probably have wiped my ass by myself the whole time, but you got to let that ride for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, you got to milk it for all it's worth at least. But no, it's I was watching a lot of your recovery, and I was actually kind of curious to see when you got back in the car, and I think they had it on, I don't know, it was on YouTube or something, and you look fast right away. I mean, everybody's I think it was, were you at Central Arizona? Did you go to Central Arizona too?
I did, yeah. So that was basically the second time back behind the wheel, and I picked up a heat race win. So that's that's what it was. I knew a really pivotal point for me too. I'm glad you brought that up. I think even though it's just a heat race win, most drivers don't really think that much of it. In fact, we kind of expect that out of our cars and our abilities. I think that was probably the moment last year when I was like, okay, I'm back. Like this, that felt normal, that felt good. And I had to earn it too. I was head to head literally for the whole race, including just a shootout, a green-white checkered with Aiden Saunders. And he just swept the first two races of our season down in Vado Memorial Day weekend. He's one of the hottest shoes on the series schedule right now. So once that happened, I finally did feel much, much better. And going back to milking it too with the injury and everything. I think my girlfriend Sydney kind of got me back. We were golfing the other day for my buddy's birthday, and he had his wife in the golf cart with Sydney. They ended up tipping that thing up on its side, and she just totally obliterated her left ankle with it. So now she's all cooped up, and I'm having to pick her up and help her out around the house. So I think she's going to be milking that injury a little bit more here in the coming weeks too, just to get me back for how mopey I was at the very end of 2024.
Yeah, a little payback. Well, hopefully she gets recovered and is all right. But yeah, those are wild. A lot of golf cart accident. You know, that's one thing I don't do is golf. But I would like to go drive the cart around sometimes. But we all know how that'd turn out when you get a bunch of guys together. Uh-oh, we lost him. Hold on. Technical difficulty. This is what happens when you're... Yeah, I lost you visually, but the audio is good. Maybe it'll come back here, and it could just be on my end. Let's take a pause here. All right, Tara will text me and see if your video down on the other end is okay. But otherwise, we can just keep going. I'm sure it'll come back. You there, Spencer?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Well, I'm sure maybe that, I'm on the backside of this platform. So if not, most are on Spotify anyway. So as soon as we come to the conclusion, hopefully we get you back here in a second. But otherwise, I think we're okay. We're still live and rolling.
Perfect.
That's a first. And we don't have Brandon here.
My ugly mug anyway.
It'll come back. Let's see here. Yeah, and Brandon is the technical guy, so unfortunately he's not here. But I'm actually going to drop you out of the stage here, Spencer. Can you? I'm going to remove you and put you back in if that's okay. So everybody pause for just 1 second. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing, and we knew this would probably happen tonight of all nights. So give me just 1 second, and we will play the ad for Mountain Ops. So I'm going to get a drink here. We'll reconvene while we play the Mountain Ops ad, and we will get Spencer right back in. So thanks for hanging with us. Oh, there you are. I'm still going to play the ad, Spencer, so that way we can make sure we're good to go, and we'll go from there. So
Whether you're chasing checkered flags, chasing elk in the mountains, casting a line, or crushing early morning workouts in the gym, there's one name every high performer should know: Mountain Ops. This team fuels athletes, hunters, racers, and weekend warriors with the cleanest, hardest-hitting supplements on the market. Let's be honest, this sport isn't for the soft. Late nights in the garage, long drives to the track, and hot evenings in the pits and in the car. We are built different. That's why we run on Mountain Ops. Their supplements hit hard, feel clean, and don't have all that junk you can't pronounce. From early mornings to late nights on race day, this is the stuff that keeps the crew moving and ready for the next lap. Want in? Head to mtnops.com, enter code TSPodcast at checkout, and get 20% off your order. That's right, enter code TSPODCAST at checkout for 20% off your order. You don't just want to show up, you want to win. Fuel like you mean it. Winners use Mountain Ops. Proud supporting partner of the Throwin Sliders podcast.
And the Mountain Ops, thanks to them for sponsoring us. I will have some at the racetrack this weekend, so any of the drivers or people around in the pits that want to try it, we got some free samples for you. So keeps me going, that's for sure. And it's starting to get hot. I don't know about down there. I know you guys get hot a lot quicker. It's been pretty moderate here this spring. So now today I think it was in the 90s, and I was sweating like a pig.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why I had to change up what I was doing tonight and just go live from the race shop is I ended up rarely looking at my weather app for this week. I'm really good about looking at weather for whatever racetrack I'm going to. Really bad about looking at it for like the actual week of what I'm doing, because my 9 to 5's at the Better Business Bureau. It's an office job, so I don't even see the sunlight until I come to the race shop, which it's dark anyways most of the time. But I looked at it and I was like, oh boy, we got some weather rolling through. So it had been really beautiful, super hot leading into today, and then all of a sudden I guess we got some sort of storm rolling through. So maybe it'll get up your way and give the racetrack a little bit more moisture.
Yeah, we could definitely use it there. It's funny, I came home too, and my wife usually has everything set up for me and ready to go for the podcast, because I don't get off until later and work as late as I can and then come do this. But the AC she didn't have it cranked for me and everything. So I came into this room and I was sweating, but I do have a piece of life advice for anybody that wants to know. I discovered a new trick in my house, and she hates it now, but I started after I shower, I have a beach towel because had all the other in the laundry. I don't know if you've ever dried off with a beach towel in the house, but talk about life changing. It's huge.
What's it do? Like, is it like,
it's just like we got the decorative kind of girly towels that come from, I don't know, probably TJ Maxx or something cheap, but
yeah, you like the
they're
rough
little
ones,
and
right?
this beach towel is probably like 6 foot long and 4 foot wide, and I can just wrap it around me like I'm a baby in a cocoon. So
That's a
that's my new thing.
I have not thought about that because, well, number one, I'd probably be too afraid to like dog on Sid and her purchases with whatever Amazon brings. I mean, I don't think we bought towels in a while though, so I don't know.
No.
I might have to try that out.
It's a game changer, I will say. And now I can't do anything else. And she's not happy about it because it's yellow and white. I have no idea where it came from. And it's probably been in my closet since I bought this house. But so it's it cuts my drying time down and probably by 3/4, and it's efficient, and I like that. So just a word to anybody out there, kind of some non-racing related ideas for you. Just get a huge beach towel and you will dry off immediately. And I wear a robe like Hugh Hefner, but it's old and cotton, so it's not exactly what you would call like aesthetically pleasing. So when I come out of there, it's yellow towel, old black bathrobe with holes in it, and I put on a show, but it's not a good one.
See, that's some Colorado shit right there. I mean, come on, dude.
We're white trash in these parts, and I'm not even in the mountains. That's what
it.
sucks. It's like I tell them, when did my family, like all throughout history, kind of probably similar to you, I'm like, they came all the way out west, survived, got jobs, or somehow made a living, and then they just were like, we made it to Pueblo, Colorado. Let's just stop here and call it good and have babies. Like, gosh, what a bunch of losers. And I stayed.
Well, I ask that all the time too about like Albuquerque, right? And how do you end up in Albuquerque, New Mexico? I mean, without breaking down. And obviously they didn't just break down because, I mean, nobody ever left. We call it the land of entrapment down here. Everybody else knows it as the land of enchantment. But man, it's so funny because going through school, and maybe this was similar to you. I'd love to hear your side of this too. But going through school my entire life, everybody would always talk about, oh, I cannot wait to get out of New Mexico. Like, this place sucks. Like, get me out of here. And for whatever reason, you wait around until everybody's about 35, 40, everybody comes right back home. So there's got to be something about that too. I mean, did you ever experience any of that in Colorado?
Oh, we heard that all, especially here. Like Pueblo kind of gets a bad rap, but it's like anything else. There's a lot of pros and cons to wherever you're at. And yeah, I'm starting to see some people come back. It just depends. Industry here is pretty rough. We're not near as big as Albuquerque, so at least you guys probably still have quite a bit more opportunity. But it's a place I actually like and enjoy, and I felt like I've been all over, and it's a little bit of a harder town. You still got some grit here, a lot of blue collar industry and some hard guys. To where like when I'd go to like Boulder or some of these really pretty places, I didn't fit in then. So I'm like, you could take the guy out of Pueblo, but we still got that dog in us, a little bit of that. So yeah, I'm starting to see some.
We got a little bit of that too, definitely. With so the town I live in now is actually just outside of Albuquerque, which I think has helped me mentally. It's called Rio Rancho, and I think it's a little similar to what you're explaining there. With like, all right, this is like the cowboy and the western side of Albuquerque Metro, and we got a lot more land and everything out here. Tons of houses, no businesses, like no industry to really support it, but everybody's been moving out here. So I think that if you could find a little bit of that, no matter where you live, it at least makes it much more enjoyable and you kind of find your people.
Yeah. It's funny. Some of the stories that I'll tell guys when we're on the road that have come from these big cities and stuff, like Pueblo, when we were younger, that was one thing. Like, I think we had more bars per capita than any place in the country. So it was really like, that was kind of another part of it that was really wild. And it was like one night I was telling a guy a story, and he was just in shock that my buddy and I are driving around, and it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night down kind of our main strip, which is Northern Avenue. And for whatever reason, they kind of started weaving in and out of traffic, racing a little bit with some like a Honda Civic lowered, the guys. But anyway, he cut him off, and he pissed him off pretty good. Well, they pull out this little pistol. I mean, it had to be a little pocket 9. And he pointed it at my buddy, which is kind of like you said, cowboy, you know, some wild whites of West Virginia stuff. And so anyway, we go to the light. Well, he's in a little Dodge Dakota pickup. We are. And he goes, "Hey, they're coming around to your side. Lean back." And I go, "Lean back." And he has a 44 Magnum, and he pulls it out and points it out the window. But the problem is that, you know how long a barrel on a 44 is, but it didn't quite reach out the window. So it's this far from the gap of the door in the window. So I throw my seat all the way back, and I'm trying to decide whether to plug and leave my mouth open, because the 44 is going to probably blow the windows out if he doesn't have them all the way down. And you've never seen a Honda Civic run 12 seconds on the street. That thing's sideways with front wheel drive out of there. And it was just a lot of stuff like that. So, you know, some of those experiences, I'm like, I hope my kids don't have those. But at the same time, it's stuff now. It makes you laugh, you know. But yeah, whether you don't know whether to keep your mouth open and plug your ears or close them both because the concussion of something like that going off. But just some wild nights that I don't think a lot of people get to experience anymore.
So I got a fun game if you want to play real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
And this will fit. Just give it a sec. But
okay.
So when I look at you, I'm trying to think, okay, what type of passenger vehicle would Blair like drive on a daily in my head? And for some reason, like I'm thinking like, you know, Ram 3500, something like that. And you don't have to give the answer yet, but what kind of car do you think I use as a daily?
Oh, I would think you know, I want to say, because I know you're probably a pretty practical guy too, but I don't know if you have to tow to the track, because I know you drive for people. So let me do a little deduction here. I mean, honestly, if I didn't know you and I just picked you out, I'd say probably a Tacoma, Tundra, something like that.
Okay.
Good Japanese vehicle, longevity, but yeah, something like that. So let's say a Tacoma.
All right, that's good answer. Good answer. I ended up buying, and it was funny enough, it used to be my girlfriend's sister's car, but I bought the best purchase of my life a couple of years ago, and I got a 2018 Ford Fiesta ST, little 4-banger with a turbo. Dude, 35 miles to the gallon. Best car I have ever gotten. I love that thing. And just hearing that story made me think, you know, I bet not a lot of people would look at me, or really anybody in the sprint car world, and be like, oh man, you know, I like just pulling up next to me and just imagine me with my little 4-banger with the turbo, just like just.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe you can turn that into some sort of new segment every time you talk to guys, because I always like the weird, like just off the cuff stuff like that. It's so fun to learn. So now, what's your daily, Blair?
I drive a 2014 Nissan Sentra SR with the notorious CVT transmission. I have to lift to shift between second and third in an automatic, or it will get stuck and peg the gauge. And it's got blown shocks or struts on the front. The oil is everywhere. I looked the other day, and the radio doesn't work, but the windows roll down and the AC. Yep. So it is funny you mention that, because I've actually had this conversation a couple times, and you wouldn't expect to, like, all these race car guys, like Adam Trimble. I pull up next to him at Lowe's. He's in probably like a 2007 Honda Pilot or a Toyota Sienna minivan with the kids and the wife loading potting soil in the back. And yeah, that's pretty funny to see. Like, you'd think all these guys, like, it's like, oh, all the money goes to the race car. I don't need a Corvette.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of the guys like on the national level tour. We literally, I'm not sure a lot of like fans really have gone in depth with conversation with a lot of the drivers. But when I say that most of us, if we're doing it, you know, as a career or a lifelong hobby, like my case, we literally put every single piece of income, energy into racing. If we have anything at all left to give, you want to give as much as you can to your loved ones and your family and friends, but as much as we possibly can, we're throwing into racing. So I think that people would be surprised to see like all of the day-to-day, you know, I don't want to call it struggles, because I'm not struggling necessarily with that, but I think it's just the trades that you end up making to make sure that you can continue to go racing and live out that dream, especially when you're getting into your 30s and your 40s and you're trying to balance your home life, business life. I mean, it's really tough. And I think nowadays here in 2026, it's as hard as it's ever been to go racing and to continue to do that on a local, a regional, even a national level. So I think that anybody that is still supporting it or able to do it, I mean, I tip my cap to them because they're trying their asses off just to make it to the track.
Yeah. It is funny too. Like I don't have any ego about it because I don't care. But when I pull up to like the Taco Bell drive-thru in my little shit box, and I think like when I used to go get coffee, I know all the girls thought that I was into guys because they would treat me so good, make my coffee with my little, and I'd even give the horn a little toot, a tip and a toot on the horn. But that was another sacrifice. It's like you do give up a lot. Like you got to make your, I've cut everything out that's not necessary in my life, and luckily my wife's okay with it. She's on board, and because we don't want to go broke racing either. We kind of set a budget, stick to it, and try to build around that. And luckily we get a little bit of help from sponsors, but it's never, it's still like it takes everything you got in the time. So yeah, we always a lot of respect for the guys that keep doing it.
I gotta say, your wife is incredible. From the little bit of time that I've talked with her at the racetrack before, and then everything that I get to see through social media. I mean, she's just an absolute rock star when it comes to supporting you and supporting your career and everything when it comes to the racing side. She's all in. I just gotta say that is so cool to see.
Yeah, it's really, I kind of she had no choice. I told her, and luckily she loves it. So, it's like, if we're going to do this, I don't have, and kind of like, I think you probably have more people around you, but in this town, most people don't even know what a sprint car is. I mean, they're starting to, because enough people come by the shop, but that's tough. And even like support, I'm on the phone with my, a lot of guys that help me out. That Rick Lowry, I talk to him as much as anyone. So, but trying to do it over the phone and stuff, you learn a lot, but, yeah, it's tough. So yeah, I'm very grateful too, but it's definitely, she's a different breed. So I got lucky there.
Yeah. I don't think that our women get enough credit as it is. I mean, just to put up with all the shit that you have to put up to be able to be with a racer is, it's a lot, man. So I think that anytime we can kind of give a little bit of love and show love to all the women around the racers, they don't have an easy job, and most of them probably didn't exactly realize what they got themselves into either. I know mine probably didn't, because she grew up around the drag strip, so she thought she knew racing, but I don't think that it completely translates on why we have to take the car all the way apart to go race it the next weekend every single time. I think that part's been kind of hard to translate across racing worlds.
Yeah. Well, it is. Yeah, it is. It's a lot. And I have a lot of drag racing friends. In fact, that's what I thought I was going to do, just because around here, that's what a lot of my friends did. And I didn't see any path to the oval stuff, even though my dad had done it. He was like done until we got back into it a little bit. But, and then the dirt's another thing. I literally didn't even know these tracks existed because you just didn't hear about them. And so that's how far out we were. But yeah, she likes it, and you got her set. And I see you do some content. She's probably at least filming you. Is she doing some set and stagger and stuff like that? You getting her working on it?
We're working on that side of it. She does like it. She works her ass off too. She's a lead phlebotomist with a really big company here in Albuquerque, and so she just is tired, man. Which I get. I'm tired too. So it's hard for her to always come around, and like the sprint car shop, which I'm at right now, that's not too far away from our house that we live at, but it is further than just being, in the same garage. But I was able to bring my micro sprint over to our house, and I think that's helped quite a bit. But yeah, she's a rock star with it. She supports me. She tries to go to every single race. Hell, she's on crutches right now, can't even walk, and she's still trying to find a way to go up this weekend. And I'm like, babe, I just do what you want, but you don't have to go to every single one. I'll be okay. I promise. I have some good people around me, and we'll make sure to call you right after the races and stuff. But she's just that type. She wants to be there. Yeah. She wants the support, and I love that.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. I think that's probably one thing that in previous generations, those guys missed out on. I mean, of course, I think that's changed too. You probably don't see as many pit Lizzies or tire biters around anymore, but it's,
Yeah.
because a lot of women back, they weren't even like, and, you go back 25 years, maybe a lot of women weren't even still allowed in the pits, or women weren't allowed in the pits, women and kids. And now it is definitely more of a family atmosphere. A lot of these drivers, and it probably helps save a lot of drivers' careers and marriages that everybody gets to go. So I do like that aspect of them being able to participate. And I love it. Being married, it's like, I'd rather have her there than not, it's like, I don't really even want to go without her a lot of times, but which is
Yeah, I feel
probably
the
not
same
what it
way
was like.
too. And with me, it's funny because I think that me and you are really similar in the role that, technology does play in our week to week. I mean, you have this awesome podcast. We're all glued to our phones one way or another, but I do miss that, it could have been, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we could have gone to the racetrack and experienced everything without technology. And
Mhm.
I, I talk to people all the time. I think you see it too. Most of the people in the racing world are just older. They're an older generation. And they talk about all the crazy stuff that they got into and how you just can't do that anymore. And it makes me think, yeah, you know, maybe the way things are now has protected some careers and saved a lot of marriages, but it'd be cool just to have lived that a little bit and been able to go just crazy and go across the nation. It's interesting how technology has changed everything in life
Mhm.
from start to finish. But I don't know. Without it, we couldn't have awesome conversations like this. I likely, would have never been able to get to know you more past just a little bit of asphalt stuff that we were able to do and getting the connection there. And then up in Aztec, I mean, it's interesting how much different the landscape of motorsports is today with the technology that we have. And it's ever changing. It's only going to get crazier and crazier.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. There's always a trade-off. And even for me, like, you kind of said, I look at it as like a job. I know you're the same way. Some people call it a hobby. It's really not a hobby when you put this much effort and there's risk in it. Like a hobby to me is like hiking and, or building wooden boats for glass bottles. But when it's something that obviously can be detrimental to you and takes everything you have, you do treat it like a job. And sometimes now you even know at the regional level, and with any kind of sponsorship or promoting a business, that eyes are on you. And it's even changed the way I've kind of had to present myself. I think I was a lot more fun before all that, but you do notice, and there are people out to give you a hard time, which I mean can also help you, but it's a fine line. It really can ruin you. And I think that's part of the only sad thing is you don't really know who guys are a lot of times anymore. I mean, they're buttoned up, and not that they were bad guys, but just having fun, being wild, pit parties, toters, stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
I would have been out of control and out of the sport. So it's better for me that it's not, because I would always get way too wild. So it's probably beneficial for me, but definitely it's kind of like some of these kids won't ever get to grow up and just be like free and wild.
Yeah, I kind of laugh because what people see is I think they'd be surprised to learn that this is the tamed down version of Spencer. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is just a little glimpse into the craziness that goes into everything because I love racing and I want to give myself every opportunity to go as far as I possibly can with it. I don't want to ruin my career by any means, but I want to show people that, we do have personalities. I think it's much harder on a national level now that we're getting corporate sponsors in. I think it's even worse as far as just
Yeah.
kind of dwindling down and having to get a little bit more vanilla. You don't get to see the craziness that drivers would be back in the day, but not all drivers are that crazy either. I think that another thing, maybe back to the technology item that we just talked about too, is a lot of these drivers are pretty shy. And that surprised me because how can you be, on the shy side of things and then get behind the wheel of an 800 plus, 900 plus horsepower sprint car and just be everybody's superhero, and then come back into the pit and you're nervous to talk to somebody, or you're nervous to do an interview, or it's interesting to me just to see the swinging personalities. And I feel like we're getting more of that quiet side in drivers, in part because I think a lot of them do take it super serious. Maybe a little bit protecting the sponsorship side of things and the marketing side. But I think that the younger drivers in this next generation, I just think that they're kind of shy, and they never necessarily got the opportunity to go play around with other kids as much. I mean, I think that maybe your generation, that could have been the last of kids going out there in the back 40 and chasing lizards together. They couldn't care less about what heat race or what feature was coming up on the racetrack. You wanted to go hang out with your friends. That's why you went to the racetrack. And maybe in part, some of that could be because parents are pushing their kids too hard too. I don't have a great answer for it, but I think overall the personalities across all of motorsports has changed drastically in the last 10, 20 years. And it's just interesting to know, I think.
It's funny you mentioned that. I talk about it quite a bit behind the scenes when I meet some of these guys. And I didn't grow up around the racetrack. I didn't start till I was in my mid 20s. I had a little bit when I was really young, and then started really hard back into it when I got older. But I noticed a difference of like guys that I hung out with, like just in real life, and then guys at the racetrack. And I'm like, oh, they've only been at the racetrack their entire life. So you get similar personalities, stuff like that. They weren't out partying. They weren't, even as like doing stuff as a teenager because they had to be at the racetrack on Saturday with their parents. So there was like a fundamental difference in guys. And I'm like, they're kind of dorks. A lot of them are kind of nerds. They didn't have the life experiences that I did, and like really getting in trouble because it was like they were lucky and grateful to race, but they never knew anything outside of that. Like maybe they got to go to sports games or something with their family or friends, but it was just a different dynamic. And I'm like, you're kind of nerds.
Yeah, you know what? I agree, dude. It's very interesting, and I think that perspective probably shifts a little bit as you age too, and you just kind of reflect more on how the upbringing is. But yeah, it's so fascinating to me just to think about that side of things too, because I think we spend enough time thinking about how minute of changes we need to be thinking going into a race, and every little detail. Sometimes it's fun just to see it at face value and say, wow, what are other people seeing when they come to a racetrack? Because I think I'm kind of numb to that. Maybe you are too. I don't know the last time, I went to a completely new sporting event or venue and took that all in for the first time. I'd be very, very interested to just talk to a first time fan, as in they had never seen racing even on TV before. And just, get their experience of like what they think this dirt track racing that we've all come to love for so long is. I think that maybe everybody could learn quite a bit by talking to somebody that is completely green to it.
Yeah. That's the thing too, is that you probably kind of lose too. Like when you were young, and see, like I said, I had stepped away. So when I came back, and it's so visceral when you roll into a racetrack, like when you're not a participant. I just went to watch, and it had been probably like 12 years. Maybe I was 17 or something, maybe, but it was a long time in between. And when I stepped out and they were hot lapping, even like now I'm numb to the sound, I like it. I love being around it, but it's not that like, holy shit, what is that? When you walk into a place, if you are a first time guy or you'd never really been around like open headed high horsepower cars. And that's the only thing I wish I could ever get back, because you get used to things. And so, yeah, for those first time people, that would be awesome. And I know when we did the Rusty Wallace and like the driving experiences, you would get people that never had been around anything racing, and to watch the change when they strapped them down. And then it's like, they have no control was my favorite part of it. And they usually became fans for life, of the sport, at least of oval racing, or whether it was the Ferraris, they probably had an idea, but until you do it, I wish they had more 2-seater sprint cars with like real engines in them.
Yeah.
Or even
they did too. And I get like the insurance side of it and everything. And that landscape's changed too. It just, as things have gotten, more towards the Sue Happy side and everything, I get it. But I think that was a really neat era that we had went through, because I know that even my local track, I call it local, Las Cruces was local enough for me, even though it was 4 hours away. But the Woffords used to have a 2-seater sprint car, and they would give affordable 2-seater rides, and everybody loved it so much. I wish we had a little bit of that back. But then again, I get it. I totally get it on the insurance side of things. And with more racetracks closing than are opening right now, you just can't risk that anymore.
Sure.
But I wish we had another way, maybe bring some simulators to the racetrack, just get that fan experience back and make it something that everybody wants to go to. I think right now, getting people's attention spans to last for a solid 3.5, 4-hour event, that's as hard as it can possibly be. So if I owned a racetrack right now, and there's plenty of racetracks and owners that are doing this and promoters that are doing this, but I would really, really look at what else I had to offer besides just the on-track product, and then try to streamline that as fast as possible. I think that the days of 6, 7 classes at a race night, those are long gone. I don't think that people want to spend that much time at the racetrack, especially because most of these racetracks are not close to a town center. You're going 45 minutes out of the way for your local dirt track most of the time. So I'm interested to see how that's going to shift here in the next couple of years too, just to make sure that we can continue to get the fan support that racetracks need to survive. Because I think the primary focus is always the back gate, but the front gate is still important. It can't be all about streaming. The front gate, that's where you really get the atmosphere. And without an atmosphere, I'm not sure you really have what we've all come to appreciate as dirt track racing. If you get out to a crowd, a lot of us saw this during COVID. If you got out to a crowd of nobody, it didn't even matter. It could have been the biggest race of the season, but not having a single person cheering for you and you're just down there by yourself, that's not much of an atmosphere, and that's not much interest to me, at least.
No, me neither. No, that's what really makes it. And beyond the relationships on the backside, and you don't really, you don't get a lot of interaction with people, but when they appreciate what you do, and, even if they just want a t-shirt or something, it's like, man, that's pretty awesome that you had an impact like that. And you really, at the end of the day, we are putting on a show for people. And it's all a money-making venture. That's what makes the world go round, but a quality product. And they are having to get these shows to be more. It's always a circus, but when you see what a monster truck show does, you have promoters are having to get creative, but it's like monster trucks still sell out everywhere, and make kids fans and sell the merch. And it's like, we've always are trying to close that divide on how do we get that kind of attention, and especially for kids, because that's the hard sell anymore. Like you said, when you're competing with short clips or the internet or stuff like that, it's becoming very niche market. And, you still see a lot of people at some of these shows, but they have to be big shows. And I think local racing suffering probably everywhere. It's not just Colorado or with you, but are you seeing, like, even the Friday night shows, are you seeing good turnouts for fans? And it feels like the sprint car stuff really has blown up. Open wheel and then big late model shows, you got those. Votto is just kind of a unique place, being, world-class venue. But are you seeing big crowds and stuff down there? A lot of people excited about racing?
I won't go as far as to say big, but I see really healthy crowds, especially for Friday. I think that going to all these tracks that are kind of out of town has helped a little bit too, because Votto is right in the middle of El Paso and Las Cruces, which are two pretty big towns down south. So you get a little bit of draw from both. That's helpful. That's why Royal Jones did that. That's why he ended up closing the racetrack that was in El Paso and the racetrack that was in Las Cruces, put all of his funding just into one really state-of-the-art track. Incredible job there. But also, Royal loves racing. I don't know any person with, I will say, the amount of financial backing that he's able to provide to help a racetrack he's gone above and beyond. But we go to some of these other racetracks. I think that Aztec, great example. I've always said for so many years that the racetrack over there at Aztec has one of the largest crowds that I see. And that's because there's really not a whole lot to do out there. So being able to capitalize on smaller towns like that, they're at least close enough to where if you do bring in a big regional or national series, that's where it's at. I think those are the tracks that are surviving. Hell, our racetrack here in Albuquerque, they just bulldozed that thing and started building fucking whoops down the front straightaway. It's a motocross track now. And I'm going, how does that happen? how do we have the biggest city in the entire state of New Mexico? And for the longest time, that track struggled quite a bit. It went through, I think, 5 different promoters in its last year of operation last year. And then
Jeez.
all of a sudden the fix for it is to make it into another motocross track, which they had motocross there before the dirt track, by the way. That's the interesting thing to me. And there's another motocross track less than an hour east of that same racetrack. So that, like, it's just interesting. Like, how does that happen? And I think we see that too with Denver. I mean, Denver, it used to be a hotbed for dirt track racing. And then once the big dirt track closed there, I mean, you had to move over to El Paso County, over to Cortez, go north towards Wyoming too. You just had to move around. But those tracks, I appreciate everything that those promoters and those owners have done, because we need people like that. We also saw Manzanita, Ascot, you name it. Every track that was built around a large city, it's just had to go away because there was too much competition. There's too much to do in that city. And I'm not sure we'll ever see something like that happen again, unless it becomes super fashionable, but there's too much to do now.
Yeah. Barry said, I'll put this up on screen. Have more B-Mod shows. Done. Stands will be packed.
Hey, as long as it's only within the 3-class range, 4-class range, let's bring them on.
He was down at Aztec, broke 3 shocks, had a rough go. So he's getting it mended up. But which was funny because I told him whenever we've been to Aztec, it's always been smooth. Took rubber, but I think we've only been there twice, or 2-night show. But it's always been pretty smooth. But they must have had a rough night. But yeah, he had 3 shocks, folded in, back deck lid, and everything else. So rough go for those guys. But
well, that was Aztec's first race back, I believe, too. They were all last year. They went dark for a whole year. So it was a lot of work just to get that going again. But huge props to everybody that's been working their tails off over at Aztec for not letting the oldest active racetrack in New Mexico go to the wayside like that. I appreciate it. It's always been one of my favorite places. Likewise, we were sad that we had to postpone Cortez to open up our 360 Wing Desert Series season, but we are going to be able to go back over there July 24th and 25th. So I'm excited that we didn't lose one of those races too, because we need those tracks, man. I want to go up there and I want to talk shit with you with North versus South and just, have that little bit of mantra. And I think that when you can kind of combine the ASCS and the 360 Wing Desert Series 2 together and bring 2 forces into one, it just visually looks so much better. And I think that if you're able to do well, it means a lot more. I know it is for our drivers. Everybody going up this weekend your way, we want to win because we want to show that, we are, quote, the best in the Southwest. We want to be out there and try to beat all of you guys with the Northern Series because, we have a lot of pride with that. And I think that your guys would probably say the same thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's like, this is my house, and obviously Calhan is not my house because I am terrible there, but we will put in the effort just to show these guys, because I don't want guys to roll in and be like, he sucks, like he's nothing, same when we went down to Aztec. I'm like, I never seen it, I just heard of it and ran decent until we knocked that nose wing off, but a lot of fun. And then it's like these guys, you walk out of there and they're like, yeah, they'll remember me at least on the road, when we run into them again. So I think that's every race car driver's ego, but it makes it fun too. You make friends like that. You may make some enemies, if it doesn't go well, but that really does. And I think the fans and everybody can see that when there is big car counts and guys that are really going to push it. And hopefully we don't tear nothing up. I don't think anybody ever wants to go that far, but hard racing and a little bit of pride in it makes it fun.
Well, I got good news for you, Blair. You guys at least have home track advantage and have a pretty good advantage this time, because I don't know of too many people that have been up there unless they snuck up for whenever World of Outlaws or ASCS ran up there the couple times that they have. But for the most part, I think that maybe out of our, call it 20 traveling guys ish, first of all, I think that maybe 15 at best will probably make the tow all the way up there, because we have a lot of guys from Arizona too. And that's a whole other story. But
Sure.
I think that out of those like 15 to 20 guys, I think that maybe myself and 2-3 other people have ever seen that track besides just on Google Images. So I
Yep.
think you guys got a really good opportunity to kick some ass.
The funny thing is, it's kind of like you said, though you may have an advantage early if you're a home track guy, but who knows what it's going to be like when they throw the green. And so it's an equalizer. You really got to have it dialed in, and it's a place where you have to really work the car, and you can't just blast around there and it's going to stick in every corner. So it's interesting for sure. It's a fun place to watch races. So for the fans, it's always a good show.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know what it is. I haven't won there in the sprint car. I finished second twice and a couple thirds, but I think we ended off pretty good at the end of last year. But then this time I went out this first race and was like, where the hell am I? So burn the notes and burn the boats because we're stuck. It's like we're here and we're just going to have to suffer through it. And some nights it's like that, but hopefully this weekend we'll be okay.
Well, hell, Blair, I got my notebook out right here. Give me a little bit of something for this weekend. Who's the ones to watch? What can we expect coming into this big race weekend?
Yeah, I think I don't know as far as who's coming from the north. As far as local guys, Gossel's actually Brian Gossel. He was the champ last year for the Western Plains Series, and I don't know if you saw any of the asphalt racing. He's been doing a big mix. I don't know if Austin will be here, but father-son duo. Austin's been running full-time national tour. He was with us at Holyoke. Trimble here is always fast. I think he probably picked off a few wins here, but Gossel's actually driving 20 hours back from Michigan racing asphalt. He was at I'm trying to think of the name of the show in Florida at Five Flags where they run the snowball. They had that big sprint car race down there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he put it, he put it in, I think, top 6 there. I think he came in 6th. Like I said, Trimble's been fast. We'll probably see some of the northern guys come down. I just don't have a list of that one yet. And then if nothing else, I'll just try to be in the way. So, make it hard on you guys to get by or if you're coming back around. But no, so that's really, that's a few to watch and I'll have to think. But we've got some pretty good guys running. Well, and then Kansas, like I said, National Tour is not racing near as much this year. So, you've had some big names showing up and it's like, hey, we're all at Callahan together. And even that National Tour car, I think their National Tour show last year was 34 cars in the pits or something. So.
Yeah, that's very healthy. I mean, I know that all of our guys that are making the toe up, we're super excited. I was talking to Aiden Saunders after his sweep of the weekend on Memorial Day weekend down at Vado Speedway Park. He's heavily considering going up and trying to just stretch out his points lead that he has now with us for the 360 Wing Desert Series. So I would expect him to make the toe up. I think you got some of the other guys that are always in it too. Last year's 2025 360 Wing Desert Series champion, Rick Zeal, is expected to make the toe up. The dude's got 10 to 12 national championships and regional championships with ASCS. And he's old enough to be at least my dad, maybe my grandpa, and still can kick my ass any given night. It's amazing to see. He's out there with his chest hair flying in the wind, baby. He still rips it. Love old Rick.
Yeah.
And we've got some cool names out here, too. On the Vado weekend, we had Wyatt Miller. Of course, Dale Sr.'s grandson was out there racing with us. I haven't heard whether or not he's going to go out there and compete. But gosh, that was so cool for just to see everybody have some excitement and true excitement and fandom around our pits was really neat to see. And, you always got your Jesse Bakers. He's very, very fast. Don Grable, another fast cat from down here. We have a lot of talent here in the Southwest. And I know that you guys do up in Colorado and up in your northern region. And it's going to be an awesome show, dude. I cannot wait. I want to get this thing loaded up right now, but I think I want to tweak on it a little bit more, especially after talking to you a little bit.
Yeah, 4 inches of stagger and tie down the right rear. You'll be fine. Tell all your friends.
Yeah. Break out the old 98 W's, huh?
Yeah. So, it's funny too, when I call my engine builder, they're in Washington and they're at 0 feet, when they dyno and they said, well, send me your ADR or air density when the first weekend you run. We want to make sure we're all spot on because their dyno sheet doesn't even have the air that we run on. So they're writing it in with pen. And
Yeah.
they're like, what was the air density? I'm like, 7,400 feet was what it was the last time we raced there. So the air is real thin. If the track gets tight, everybody's going to, hopefully you guys will all be sucking air from coming up this high. And I know we're at like the altitude up there is like over 6,000 feet. So it's different. Cars don't make a ton of horsepower, but it'll be fun. So looking forward to it.
And I think we should talk at least a little bit about the tech behind the sprint car stuff. We've had some fun on the podcast so far, but what are some of the things that you guys like to do to just make sure that you can get these engines cool enough? Because I know that I have a few things that I specifically do just because of how bad our air is out here. Do you do anything in particular with your cars?
I typically have had the problem the other way of not being able to get enough heat in the engine.
Really?
Yeah, so that we've actually been working on a little bit with my friend Rick Lowry from USA Performance. He shut the shop down, but he had originally refreshed one of mine, and we fought that a little bit. So turning the barrel valve down to get him to take off and stuff was more of an issue for me, making sure it was down, but not too leaned out there. And then really just playing, high speeds. We get the pressure down pretty low. I've jumped way up in jet sizes and everything, but a lot of guys that have issues with heat here, and anywhere we race that's high, I'm the other way, trying to get heat in at over 180. And now finally we're getting that 200 number, but that's not something I've really struggled with. But you guys have issues down. Well, and you're on a little bit longer pulls and really stretching the motors out at some of these places you're going.
Yeah. And, the more I was thinking about that too, because notoriously Votto is bad about that. I know that everybody comes in typically a little bit warmer than maybe the engine builder was hoping, but I think that might be just with how much throttle and just how much torque you're pulling through the whole track too. But I know that one of the things that we've had to do is we've moved to a larger radiator than most other teams use across the entire nation. We're like almost double the size on radiator. Of course, a lot of tuning with our fuel as well. And it's kind of interesting. I've also moved to a new aerodynamic scoop for the radiator. That's both on the aero side and just to help get some cool to it too. But that's, again, it's also so that you can take off on the starts and restarts, because I feel like no matter what, when you're dealing with some really bad air, that's the hardest thing to manage. If somebody lugs you down on the start is trying to get your car to take off really well, I think that no matter how much horsepower and how much torque you got, it's going to be at least in the back of your mind coming to the green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, I've actually had to go as far as taking, like, for when we're heating up the car, even just running like maybe a heat race, I'll be putting a block off plate. And I do have a big radiator in the car, but I don't think anything like oversized. But yeah, to get it up to temp for a while there, I was putting off block off plates and trying to really get that thing to come up to temp quick. Because otherwise, you're not vaporizing the fuel. It's like I was just shooting streams right to the piston, and you don't want to milk the oil down or anything. So yeah, I don't know of anybody around here on our end that's kind of struggling with that. Like, even after we had a rubber down racetrack last weekend at Holyoke, and it's a pretty big 3/8 dogma. It's like double Callahan basically. And right as I pulled off at the end of the main, flat-footed almost, or having to get out, just blip it and get in the rubber, 205 at the end of a 20 lapper. So I'm pretty lucky there.
That's solid. Yeah. Huh. Well, maybe I'll come over and just steal your notes for the weekend. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what I'm doing, but they just whatever they tell me, I'm learning a little bit more about the injection.
I am too. When it comes to anything motor-wise, I just got to follow the fuel sheet and put a lot of trust, because that thing is way too expensive to be messing with. So that's the last thing that I want to get too brave with.
Are you, I just have to ask too, because now I'm actually going back. I've had nothing but problems with brakes. I don't know, on here we've talked about it a lot. I never had actually problems with the titanium as far as them working. It's just replacing it, especially like a Callahan, or when we go to Wyoming, some of these places, you're just heating them up continuously, and that titanium starts to get brittle and blue on me. So it was like, man, if you make it 8 races with one of those rotors, and there goes $1,000. I actually am going to try this weekend is going back to straight steel, the 37 or spec 37 Willwood steel brakes. Are you on all titanium? Are you guys mostly doing that? The stainless? See, now I tried the stainless too, and I burned through it immediately.
I've had a lot of issues with brakes in the past too. I got tired of messing with it. I'm on steel all the way around, and it's been pretty good for me, honestly. If anything, I'll mess around with some brake pads. Like this weekend, I'll tell you I'm going on BP 40s for sure.
Me too.
And, Yeah, but I've had really good luck with steel and moving to that new, really, actually, it's funny that you brought that up. I never really had issues with like melting the brakes off of it necessarily because of the actual pads wearing out or anything that was going on with that side of things. The issue that I have had the most problems with is actually the mount itself moving itself towards the inboard and towards the center of the rear end. And gosh, I remember at least for a season, I was struggling with that so bad to where it was basically no matter what, if I had a clamp down, if I had a floating rotor, no matter what, it would walk itself inboard and then start basically welding itself to the caliper, change calipers, could not figure it out. Finally got a whole new system, and it's just the standard Willwood one that you could buy on Speedway, on Smiley's. And ever since I moved to that, it has helped tremendously. And I'm too scared to switch it up, to be honest with you. And maybe a little too broke for like a Smith tie system, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a man of consistency, and you gotta pinch pennies when you can, I guess.
Well, and whatever works, I've seen a lot more guys, like they talk about Dietrichs and stuff out in Pennsylvania, and those tracks being like long paper clips, some of them, just down in the hole and hard on the brakes when that thing slicks off. And then the other problem, like I was a little bit worried about putting so much heat when my rotor looked like the sun when we go to Callahan or something, is putting heat in that axle. And so it's like, it's always a trade-off for guys like us. If I could just run the best stuff and throw a new rear end in every 4 nights, I wouldn't care. I'd run the lightest, whatever worked there that's the fastest, but there's always that trade-off. And so hopefully this will work out good. And that's been one of my big hangups there, these first two, but I would recommend don't ever change to the stainless if you use the brakes at all. Like the first year I barely touched the brakes. I've, played around with driving style and everything like that. And they worked really good for quite a few laps, but like me hammering on them about lap 14, the pad would actually feel like it wasn't making contact with the rotor. It's just such a weird feeling. And then there's nothing there. Yeah. And it was like, it didn't boil the brake fluid or anything. That was another thing I learned. I was using AI and taking pictures, all that stuff, just to see what it would tell you. And that was one thing I didn't know, is that if you didn't really boil the brake fluid after it gets cooled off, you can go back and push the pedal. And if it's hard, you're probably okay, which I'll still flush, quite a bit, but it is just funny. A lot of guys have problems with brakes.
Yeah. I've had my fair share. And once I got a system that was working, making sure you're flushing fluid, not letting it sit too long. Like if you do have a really long off season or even a big break or anything like that, just flushing through and keeping a close eye on pads. And if you think your rotor may be a little bit bent, it's probably safer just to go ahead and swap that out, because you really don't want to be dealing with brake issues out on the track. Now, a front rotor or front brake pads or a front caliper, not a big deal, right? Minus the fact that, if something did happen and you start losing fluid and you don't have a way to pinch that off, or you don't have a quick release or anything like that, that's a whole different issue. But you really don't want to be messing with that inboard rotor, because we just don't have enough time, I feel. Maybe that's just me, too, because I don't usually have a whole lot of crew with me either. But I don't have time to deal with like mechanical issues. So I get so anal in the shop, and I drive everybody crazy, because I'm always like loading up last minute, feel like I'm pushing everything back. But the last thing I want is to feel like I created an issue that I could have solved at the race shop, at the racetrack. Because at the end of the day, I am my own crew chief, and it is up to me to make sure that the car's maintained and everything. And that's one thing that just, to me, is unacceptable. I don't feel like you should have continuous mechanical issues. Shit breaks on these things. We put them through hell. And really, if you look at a race car, just like the bare bones of it, there's nothing to these. It is amazing that they hold together as well as they do. But if you can do anything at the race shop to help prevent that, especially if you're light on crew like I usually am, then it goes a long way of making your night a little more bearable.
Are you mostly in the shop by yourself doing this stuff? I mean, do you have help that comes over? Is it kind of just Spencer gets in there and gets it done? Because that's how I am. I'd say until my father-in-law comes over sometimes, but I probably put in about 30-hour turnaround, like just washing parts and getting the car. I mean, like you said, completely stripped down and sometimes faster. But like when you got to do, you got your checklist. Is that pretty much you too?
Yeah, it's pretty much me over here. I have some help and support if I really need it, but I prefer to work on it myself most of the time. So for me, it's almost my therapy, I think, and maybe you use it the same way. I get so tired of working in an office setting and working on computers all day long and working social media and doing that side of it, that being able to do something with my hands, even though I'm not a very good natural mechanic, I
Me neither.
like doing it and I've come to enjoy it more. I'm not comfortable, being a mechanic, or I've never lived that life. I didn't grow up in the garage with my dad or anything. Most of all of everything that I do when it comes to race cars is self-taught with trial and error, or just asking a lot of annoying questions to people that are much older than me and think that I'm a snot-nosed kid that obviously doesn't know anything, because most of the time until I ask questions, I don't know anything. And
yeah.
it's funny you mentioned AI. I started utilizing that here in the last couple of years too, a little bit, and we're going to see a big swing of that too. Like, not to get too into the technological side of this, because I think we're more about like slinging back beers and talking shit to each other.
No, that's we do a little bit of that too. So we've talked about it quite extensively a couple times. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, the AI side that's about to come into racing is huge. So if anybody is working on apps right now, or would like some insight, I'd love to be a part of something like that. I don't have the time to develop anything, but it is really big. I think that one of the eye-opening things that I saw was some of these micro sprint teams that are now going to AI software, and they're utilizing that as basically another form of revenue on the side, because it was either going to be them answering phone calls or answering text messages at the racetrack or race shop all throughout the week and all night. They just basically put all of their knowledge into an AI system. And the first one that comes to mind is Driven with D1 on the micro side. They have a really cool app called Dialed now, and it's basically your virtual crew chief. So we're going to start seeing more and more of that coming into play. And you don't necessarily have to have an app specific like that. But if you aren't using AI in your day-to-day, whether it's race notes, whether that's just using it as a second reference, using it as your crew chief, especially if you're, don't necessarily have a real crew chief like I do, it is definitely something that I highly recommend. And it's helped my program quite a bit. And I think more than anything, it's just made me confident in making quick decisions too, and not having to think about anything about what's going on necessarily with the car on the racetrack, because I've always spent so much of my time on the track, which this is going to sound stupid, but it's just how I've had to do it. For me, I'm out there on the racetrack, and if I'm struggling, I'm not necessarily always thinking, okay, how can I change my driving style to accompany what the car is doing? I'm automatically just logging what I think the car needs to be fixed, which is most of the time the worst thing you can do, because all of the most talented drivers in the world don't know much about cars. I mean, look at Kyle Larson, for example. He just goes and drives the shit out of this thing. So the fact that my mind automatically has to go to like crew chief mode while racing, I think that's hurt me as a driver quite a bit. I'm trying to kick that habit, but the use of AI has helped quite a bit. And it's just a great way to just organize thoughts. It's never perfect, so you always got to double check, but I think it's the wave of the future. And it's one of the ways that, this is almost like the technology episode, I feel, but it's one of the ways that I feel technology is helping guys like us that are just doing it on a shoestring budget, just doing it as an extreme hobby and wanting to be as good as possible.
No, it's funny you said that too, because I get out of the car sometimes and I look around and I'm like, who the hell set this thing up? I'm like, oh, it was me.
Yeah.
I made the final calls and somebody else to blame, and you got nobody there. And it's like, but I do it. And it's so funny you said that. I had this conversation with my wife, and I actually got mad because, like I told you, at Holyoke this last race, I lost brakes and lap 18. So I'd lost them for 4 or 5 laps. And lap 18 was my fastest lap of the race. And I could picture in my head as I had to back up the corner 30 feet and run right. I was able to hit the mark right in the rubber on the top. Car was absolutely planted. And I went through there like I was on a string. And it was like, oh, it's me. It's always me that's to blame for the driving of it and trying to pound it in there in the rubber and not just let the car work. And that can be very detrimental, but it's hard too when nobody outside the car can tell you exactly like, hey, you suck. You just figure it out. You're the problem, not the car.
Yeah. And that goes back to just making sure that if you are going to take it serious, try to give yourself the best chance possible. You do need a good group around you. And I have a good group around me. I think that sometimes it's hard for me to relinquish some of that control. And I'm not always the best teacher necessarily because I had to learn it all myself for the most part. So relying on others is sometimes a little bit more difficult to trust because sometimes I don't know if I trust myself with what I was feeling because every time it's like, well, maybe that was doing X because of Y, on corner entry. There's so much that goes into it. And I think that any of the drivers that are out there that are also having to set the car up, it's an advantage. But I almost feel like more often than not, unless you're doing it super consistently, like on a week-to-week basis, I feel like it's always been a little more of a disadvantage for me. Not because, I would rather not know what was going in the car or anything like that, but just being able to focus solely on driving because I don't get to do it week in and week out. I'm really a once a month behind the wheel type of guy. And that is very hard for us.
Yeah. It's a big disadvantage because a lot of times if you do race a lot in a row, it's kind of like driving your street car around. You get so comfortable that it's not that like all the inputs are really fast and it slows everything down by being able to just relax in the seat, lay your head against it and be able to go for it. So I agree with you, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of it, right? I'd rather be doing this and, being in the situation I'm in than anything in the world. So there, at no point would I ever want to complain about it. I guess, it's just, sometimes it's just interesting to take a step back and think, oh, well, shit, maybe I'm just overthinking this. Maybe I just need to go out and just have fun, smile more, and be okay with not being perfect. I'm bad about that. And that's one of the major goals I'm working on this year is just have more fun because, the odds of me making it to even World of Outlaws or High Limit, let alone anything else above that are slim to none. So just have fun with it, man, and show people why we actually do it because I don't think any kid wants to come back into the pit area to see you throwing your shit around and being upset. They don't know why you're upset and mad. They think you're doing the coolest thing in the entire world. So act like it and just be happy to be there. And that's kind of the perspective that I'm taking this year.
Sure. Yeah, it is funny how it's hard to do that when you're a competitor because I'd have given my left one as a kid to be doing what we're doing now. And we looked it up and there's only 2,400 of us active between all open wheel sprint cars. And that's from wingless to wings. So, out of 338 million people or whatever, it is a very rare and unnatural group and a lot of characters in it. So it is a blast. And sometimes a little perspective helps.
Yeah, 100%. So Blair, what's going to be the wager this weekend? Are we gonna have a pizza for who goes head to head here? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Whatever you want to do.
Beer, case of beer. I don't know.
I don't drink, but I could do some pizza because I gotta. That's already a big punishment for me because I barely fit in my seat as it is.
I think we should do a pizza or something. Let's have some sort of friendly bet, and we can follow up on it too. Because I think that's another just fun thing that a lot of people just don't get to do much anymore too. One of the odd things that I got to experience when I had my stint of getting better through my recovery and announcing was drivers would talk to me. I was like, oh, like I automatically just, thought that every driver was just, super just to themselves, didn't want to talk, but it's the competitive spirit. So when I had the opportunity to be the announcer, and I think every driver wants the announcer to probably highlight them throughout the night, it was so cool to be able to actually meet some of the competitors that I've never talked to, in part because I'm just so busy throughout a race night, but also I'm not sure that we see as much of that going on. It's hard to have a quote unquote friend on the racetrack because everything is so competitive, and it's tight quarters, especially with a lot of the racetracks that we go to. There's no time for friends. You bring your friends with you to the racetrack. So I like the opportunity whenever I can to just have fun with it, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of guys around here. They're pretty friendly, pretty nice and open, and we love to see guys come in. So we're looking forward to all you guys coming up, and we'll make sure it's a fun weekend, and we'll try to make some time. I know it is always busy, and when they blow the horn or it's time to go, it's tough. But yeah, we'll get a little wager going. We'll see if we can see if I can keep you behind me, and vice versa, and we'll try to save everybody pit spots, and we'll have some fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm so pumped, man. It's going to be one of the best weekends of the year. And I really hope that everybody that's tuning into this, whether that is on Spotify, whether you're watching on Facebook or watching the video of it, I really hope that everyone can make it down this weekend, because El Paso County Raceway is going to be the place to be. It is one of the biggest shows of the year. Unfortunately, I think it might be the only time I go to Calhan this year. So I got to make the most of it. And I know that all you and your guys do too. So, man, let's just have a party this weekend. Let's do it up.
Right on, buddy. Well, I won't keep you too much longer. I know you got to get back to working on that car. So I was trying to take some peeks behind there and see what you're working with, but good luck getting it all ready and getting down here. You guys be safe, and we'll just plan on seeing you Friday and Saturday. So you guys, everybody come out and come see Spencer Hill and I do some battle, and hopefully we put on a good show.
Yeah. Thank you guys again. Appreciate it. And yeah, we're just going to have fun with it, man. Let's do it up. And if anybody would like to learn more about the 360 Wing Desert Series or any of the racing that I've got going on, you could always go to www.spencerhillracing.com. I'll be in the SEH Motorsports number 77 this weekend up in Calhan, and also be racing the number 4S Micro Sprint for my own race team throughout the rest of the season. So looking forward to it, and I think we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Look forward to it, and we will see you Friday.
All right. See you guys. Thanks again.
All right, man, Spence. Thanks.
If you're serious about performance, whether that's on the track or off-road, you already know this was.
Oh, sorry. We're back. I got to hit the outro. See, I told you it's a Brandon thing.
This was another production of Scrubbin' Tires Media. The Throwin Sliders podcast is hosted by Blair Cooper and Brandon Hall. Video and audio was created by Bryce Holcomb. Please like, share, and leave a 5-star review. And as always, keep throwing those sliders.
In stream. Told you.